May this message lead you to a deep reflection on the processes and tools of self-transformation provided by the renowned yogi Sadhguru. If you want to start your yoga journey with Sadhguru, click on the link in the description of this video and learn more.
I'm saying, when there's not a single idiot on the streets of London who is willing to make such a deal, how come the source of creation is willing to make such a deal with you?
So what do you think of organized religion then?
I generally don't think about it. It is not that it has no use. See, if there was no religion, a lot more people would have lost their mental balance. It is a very inexpensive way of psychiatry. No, I'm saying, see, I want you to understand, the line between sanity and insanity is so thin. Don't think there are insane people and sane people. Every one of you are crossing the line here and there. Some people are not able to come back, that's all the difference is. Yes or no? Well, aren't you saying with somebody, I'm mad at you? So you are not mad at anybody, you're just mad, that's all. You are able to go mad for some time and come back, so you think you're normal. Somebody went there and could not come back, it became a terrible problem, all right? So, do not assume sanity is some kind of sanity is some kind of an established status for you. No, today you may be perfect, tomorrow morning you may be gone. Do you understand? It's very much possible. Like today you're healthy, tomorrow morning you may be talking about terminal illness, it's possible for any of us. So the same thing is possible with mental illnesses also. It is not to be taken lightly, but I'm talking about not exercising different dimensions of intelligence in a human being. Making an education system which is all like a factory extruder, everybody has to come of the same shape and form. This is causing enormous distress in human societies.
Yes.
It's very nice to be with you, Sadhguru. I wanted to know about Adiyogi, because I've learned and I studied some yoga for years and I never heard about Adiyogi except from you.
Oh, you thought Madonna invented yoga, is it? The word Adiyogi means the first yogi. We don't know the exact time, but it's somewhere over 15,000 years ago. That much we know because of certain relics we have found and certain things that have been said, certain astronomical phases that they've talked about. Based on this, we estimate it's over 15,000 years ago, we don't know the exact time. So the significance of Adiyogi is this: for the first time for the human beings, he said, if you are willing to strive, you can cross all the limitations that nature has set up for you. Only thing is if you're willing to strive. And above all, the most important thing of this is, he's the first one. I don't want to take the credit away from the English people. Charles Darwin spoke about evolution about 150 years ago. You had a 200th birth anniversary recently. So, Adiyogi spoke of evolutionary process over 15,000 years ago. He spoke in a different language. When they asked how life happened, what is its beginning, what is its end, when his disciples asked him, he said, the first form of life was fish. Second form of life, he said, is a turtle, of amphibious life. That means life is moving out of water, finding its way on the land. You Indian people know about the 9 avatars. The next one is an animal, usually is called a wild boar, because wild boar is supposed to be the most physical creature among the mammals. So he says, it's a wild boar. Next one is half man, half animal. Next one is a dwarfed man. Next one is a full-fledged man but emotionally volatile man. Next one is a peaceful man. next one is a loving man, next one is a meditative man. The next one which is yet to come is supposed to be a mystical man. That could be you. Because if you pull out a small thing in your hand and start speaking to somebody in India or America, you're quite mystical. If you only… Yes. I'm saying if only you had a phone 100 years ago, you could claim you're God and people would have believed it. Yes or no? So, he's not talking about individual people, he's talking about different stages of evolution. If you look at what Adiyogi spoke, in many ways it runs absolutely parallel to what Charles Darwin spoke 150 years ago. So he spoke about evolution and he said, till now evolution happened without your consent. Now you have the privilege to decide how far you want to evolve. This is he said, this is the most significant aspect of being human is this, that you decide your evolution. When you were a monkey, it's not my statement, it's Charles Darwin, okay? When you were a monkey, you did not decide, I want to become a human being. Nature just pushed you on for whatever reasons. But now that you're a human being, now you can decide what kind of a human being you want to be. This moment you can be like a brute, next moment you can be godlike. Both are possible for you right here. So he said the most significant dimension of being human is you determine your evolution. This is the only creature on the planet who has that freedom to do that. He said this is the most important thing, and he gave 112 methods through which a human being can evolve to their ultimate nature. So that's why Adiyogi.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. I would like to know about science of consecration, and if I'm worthy of knowing it, how do I go about it?
Oh. Well, we must congratulate 𝘿𝙠 because in the next 3 weeks she will be a mother.
Thank you.
This is terrible gender discrimination because only women are ever allowed this privilege. So, she was talking to me about how she's conscious when there is a situation in any place, given place, without any logic to it, conscious of certain energies and how different people and different forms and different spaces impact you. So the science of consecration is just this. The best material to consecrate is a human being. Because of all the physical forms on this planet, this is the most evolved physical form. The easiest thing to consecrate is a human being. But the problem with the human being is, every few minutes they'll make a U-turn. You can consecrate them right now, by tomorrow morning we don't know. So first of all, to get them committed to stay with whatever is given to them is a big issue, especially in today's world. Because of that, we consecrate other forms. We always want to choose a form or a substance, first of all, which is of the highest density possible, because physical form, its strength and its integrity depends upon its density. So we normally solidify mercury to do this. This is called as Rasa-Vaidya, which means it is the technology of solidifying mercury. People think it's a miracle. No, it's not a miracle. We use mercury as a process of consecration. The idea is it will change the very energy in which you are. Well, today our modern science is still busy studying physical things. Everything physical about you has been gathered from outside, isn't it so? Hello? What you call as my body is just a piece of this planet. You slowly gather it by the food that you eat. So if everything physical about you is just something else, not you, what you gathered cannot be you. What is you? Definitely there is a dimension beyond physicality. If you ignore that, there's simply no life. But right now, Still the logic, the human logic which thinks it is scientific is still at this level of logic that except what I can measure on the instrument does not exist. So actually all of you do not exist because you cannot be measured. This happened to me. I don't subject myself to these indignities anymore. Way back, because of some obligation, I was in some institute, they said, we want to measure your gamma waves. I didn't know I had gamma waves. They said, no, there are gamma waves in your brain, we will measure it. So they put 14 electrodes into my body and they said, meditate. I said, I don't know how to meditate. They said, you teach everybody meditation. Yes, I do, because they don't know how to sit still. If you want, I will sit still. But this is the whole problem. Their problem is they want what kind of meditation? They want a name and the process and they want to measure the result. So I am not going to give them that pleasure. I said, if you want, I'll sit still. So I simply sat. After about 20 minutes, with some metallic object, they're hitting that funny place in your elbow, where it hurts most. Then I thought it's part of their experiment and I sat there. Then they're hitting my ankle, my knee. It became quite consistent and painful. Then I opened my eyes and said, am I doing something wrong? Why am I being beaten? They said, no, according to our instruments, you are dead. I said, this is a great diagnosis you have. But then they thought through and they said, no, it looks like your brain is dead. I said, I will stay with the first opinion. I am dead like this is okay with me. Brain dead if you give me a certificate. That's not going to be good. Why I am saying this is, the essential life that you are, you think you are going to measure it in some instrument? Only physical processes will measure, isn't it? And you know, everything physical about you is from outside, it's not yours. It's not yours, it's just a piece of the planet. So, you can't be measured, so you don't exist. What a great conclusion are you making? So what is consecration? Is a dimension of energy which is not physical in nature, but it's life, concentrated life, let's say. Consecration is a way of creating a very concentrated life process. If you walk in, it's like that. So, in certain cultures, particularly in India, every street we consecrated at one time. But people slowly misunderstood, thinking these are temples for worship, whatever, it all went into all kinds of things. But still there are fantastic spaces of consecration in that culture, you must come and experience this. These days they're measuring some bio stuff and all, they're saying some fantastic things happening, I don't know what their meters are. But I know this, Elder is saying she knows this, if you walk into a space, you know how alive or dead that space is. So is it measurable by something? No. Only life knows life. When life meets life, it knows. When life meets death, it knows. Is there some instrument to measure this? No, because all your instruments can only measure physical processes. So consecration is that concentrated life process. No human being should live in unconsecrated spaces. If you care for humanity, especially children below 14 years of age, believe me, if you make sure they spend a certain amount of time in consecrated spaces, you will not have any of this nonsense about adolescence problems. See, right now, toddler… if you're an infant, diaper problems, toddler means he's running away problems, adolescent means some other problem, middle age means crisis, old age means horrible. When are you going to live, I'm asking? You're looking at life process as a problem. It's not a problem. You're making it a problem because you're trying to fit life into your intellect. No, your intellect fits into this life perfectly well. If you try to fit this life into this intellect, it's not going to work. So consecration is a dimension and a science and a technology with which you concentrate life in such a way, if you walk in, your whole energy system bursts forth. You will see we have created spaces like this. If people just walk in, sheer intensity, simply tears start flowing. They don't know why. simply the intensity of the place, simply tears start coming. You must, every day, your cheeks should be washed with tears of love, joy and ecstasy. If this doesn't happen, you're not living yet.
Sadhguru, we've just got a few more minutes left, but I wondered, I mean, it was such a beautiful thought that you just left us with, but I wondered if there was some final thought or a mantra or something that you can leave our audience with before they go home.
See, this is what I would like to change. To learn ABC, just 26 alphabets in English language. If you come to Tamil language, 212 alphabets at least, it's complicated. Only 26 alphabets. Tell me, how many years did you spend just learning the alphabet and learning to use it? Your basic education till high school, this is all you're doing, learning to use the language and using the language so that you can understand whatever comes your way, this is all. At least 12 years. 12 years you spent, one solar cycle that's called in yoga. One solar cycle you spent just to learn a language, to communicate with people. But to transform your life, you want a 2-minute mantra. That is what Shiva is trying to say, because certain people told you that if you just utter this so many syllables, everything will be transformed. I'm not saying it is not possible. It is possible because sound has that power to transform if you use the sound right. But what level of preparation are you is the question. If you throw such a small seed somewhere, it'll become a huge tree. But only if the soil is fertile, isn't it? If you put it here on this platform, will it grow? So, what have we done to ourselves? What is the level of preparedness we have? This is the issue. All of you, I could just initiate you into a powerful meditation process just like that in 2 minutes, if only certain level of preparedness was there. But to do this, a few minutes of initiation, normally in our basic program we spend 30 to 32 hours of preparation because everybody has invested in all kinds of identities. People keep asking me, Sadhguru, what is the secret? How did you become like this? I told them, this is all I did. Never identified myself with anything. The moment your intelligence gets identified with something, you must understand this, the nature of the intellect is such, suppose you identify that you are a woman. Now your intellect keeps on doing rounds around that, protecting this gender all the time. Now you say, I'm English. Now it will go only around that, protecting that. Now you say, I'm a particular religion. Now it'll go only around that. Whatever is your identity, your intellect will serve only that. The moment you identify yourself with something, you have subjugated your intelligence to just self-defense and protection and survival. The intellect could have been a penetrating force to reveal life to you. Instead, you're using it to fight life, other life, because it's a defense mechanism. The moment I have an identity, I have to defend it, isn't it? Just to be here, without any sense of who the hell I am, you actually don't know who the hell you are. Hello? Assumed stuff, isn't it? Only because you dip into your memory. So if suppose Mr. Alzheimer visits you, suddenly you don't know who the hell you are. Even now you don't know. This is an assumption based on the accumulated memory. So if you just learn this one thing before you go to bed tonight, everything that you are not, keep it aside and go to bed, okay? Say right now this clothing, is this you? No. So you understand this, not me. It's not that physically you have to keep it aside. I'm saying, you know this is not me. Is this me? This is not me. Is this body me? This is accumulated, this can't be me, isn't it? It is said, if you live here for about 75 years, you approximately eat, depending upon your diet of course, you approximately eat between 12 to 1400 tons of food. Are you carrying it right now? Hello? Those of you who are middle-aged, are you carrying at least 600 tons? Where is it? What you thought was my body is coming and going all the time, isn't it? It's not even the same body. It's coming and going all the time. So this is not me, if you keep it aside. All the impressions that you have gathered, you also gathered from outside. Keep that aside. Everything that's not you, just keep it aside and go to bed and see if you can just be little conscious till that last moment, till you fall asleep. Most people don't know when they fall asleep. Most people. When I say most, I'm being generous with percentages, 99. If you make a little effort, just a little effort, a few days, if you make an effort to stay conscious till you fall asleep, you will see you will wake up like a newborn baby every day. And it's important. Why I'm saying a newborn baby, where Ylda will have this experience in a wonderful way, you will see the baby… What do you think he's trying to do? He's drinking life. You become like that. Why? Because you're just living in the capsule of your memory. You think you already got it. If you got it, you must be dead, isn't it? So people are practicing death in installments. See, if you're really super alive, it's fantastic. If you're dead, it's good. But if I want to torture you, what will I do? I will not kill you. I will make you half alive. That's torture, isn't it? This is what is self-inflicted for most human beings right now. They're keeping themselves half alive and they're wondering why life is such a torture. I just asked a simple question about a year and a half ago when I was in London. I was speaking to a very prominent group of people. I asked, how many people in London city can sit in the evening peacefully even without a glass of wine? They clearly said less than 1%. So to be healthful, you need a chemical. Today 70% of the people are on prescription medication of some sort. To be peaceful, you need chemicals. To be joyful, you need chemicals. To be ecstatic, of course you have ecstasy. I'm saying for everything if you need chemicals from outside, this is not a moral issue for me. The concern is this, if 90% of the population is doing chemicals to be healthful, joyful, peaceful, everything, the next generation that you produce will be less than you. This is a crime against humanity. Next generation should be at least one step ahead of us. But if you produce a generation which is behind you, you're seeing this, you're beginning to see this everywhere. If you produce a generation which is less than you have committed a serious crime against humanity. This will happen in a big way if we don't go off chemicals, both prescribed and otherwise.
The secretions of the pineal in the yogic terminology.
A 92-year-old man went to his doctor for a full medical checkup. The doctor checked him up and he said, "Hey old boy, for your age you're doing great, everything is just fine with you." But the man asked, "But doctor, what about my sex life?" So the doctor asked, thinking about it or dreaming about it? The more you try not to think about something, the more you will think about it. This is the nature of the mind.
So there are many reasons why one indulges in sex. For some, it is just pleasure. For some, it is a way of building this bond and companionship. Otherwise, people feel they're going away from each other. They may be just fine, but a lot of people, it is psyched in their mind that if they're not sexually involved, they're actually moving away. Not true. You can be very close to somebody and need not be involved in any physical manner, isn't it? But societies are psyching, especially in this part of the world, people are hugely psyched. If there is no sexuality, you don't really have a relationship. In fact, the word relationship, it took me some time to understand that here, if you say a relationship, you're supposed to understand it's sex-based relationship. Nothing else is a relationship. If I can have a very strong relationship with you and not be concerned about your body, isn't it? I may not be drawn to your body in any way, but I can have a very powerful relationship with you. But all those possibilities are completely discounted. A relationship means you must be in some way physically involved, man, woman, or man, woman, woman, whatever you like. Essentially, it's body-based. What kind of body is individual choices, but essentially it is body-based. This has happened because somewhere our identification in the body has gone beyond normal levels of identity. It is excessive identification with the body. That is why body-based relationships have become the crux of the society. One who is too identified with your physical body naturally is sex-driven, because that is the highest thing that he knows.
There are ways we can make you find something which is far bigger than this. Once you taste something better, I don't have to tell you, give this up or give that up, it'll anyway fall off, isn't it? There are ways to do certain sadhana which is more intense than sexuality, which is more ecstatic than sexuality.
On one level, if you look at it, all dimensions of yoga, one way or the other, are ultimately trying to activate the pineal. Because once it begins its secretion, everything about you becomes sweet and beautiful. It creates a whole inner pleasure, which makes all the outer pleasures look like kindergarten stuff. That's the reason yogis are just sitting with eyes closed, not because they're against pleasure, they're against small pleasures, that's all. So the Shambhavi, one thing that's happening is, it stimulates the pineal secretion in a big way, which leaves you drenched in a certain level of sweetness throughout the day. It just leaves you in a certain state of ecstasy and blissfulness because the pineal gland is active. This is one aspect of your physiology which is very close to your consciousness. The rest of the physiology is about survival, but pineal gland is one aspect of your physiology which is very, very close to transcending the physical.
In the yogic traditions, this sweetness is referred to as amrita or the ambrosia or the elixir of life.
One drop, if it comes into the system, suddenly the whole system just cools down, the whole system is lubricated, functions at ease. The desperation in the system is gone. The desperation in the mind is gone.
So, ambrosia means find your own pleasure. If you're extremely joyful within yourself, you found the amrita within yourself. You're an extreme state of pleasantness. Now, being with people, not anymore about squeezing pleasure out of them. Being with people is just being with them. Only now you're truly capable of love. Otherwise, it is just a open sesame trick. I love you means, whether they believe you or not, for that moment they make themselves believe you. Because they are also in need of something, you're also in need of something. Isn't it? It's like Alibaba under 40. Open sesame means it opens. This is just like I love you means many things open up. Now, by doing this, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, that's the way people conduct their life, there's nothing to it. But by doing this, the true possibility of knowing an intense sense of love within you is lost. You're here constantly looking, what can I get out of this person, what can I get out of that person? This is a con job. It's called a love affair. But it's a con job. But if you are extremely ecstatic by yourself, when you're being with people, it's about sharing your ecstasy. It is about, if they are not touched by it, somehow to touch them with it, rather than seeing what you can squeeze out of them. The whole fundamentals of your life will change. Yes and no, in the sense, it is not the sexuality which limits it, but it's the excessive identity with the physicality which limits it. So, it is not sexuality per se which becomes the barrier, but the attachment it creates to the physicality which definitely becomes the barrier. This question is coming from a certain amount of bits and pieces, the gossip that you have heard about how you could assimilate your own semen and raise it up to your higher possibility. Yes, it is true. At the same time, it is not because of abstinence that one does it, it is because of internalizing your energies that you do it. It is not simply that somebody is abstaining from sex and suddenly his energies are all organized and it's going up. It's not true. If your energies get organized and begin to move up, the need for sexuality may evaporate for you, but it doesn't leave you incapable. It doesn't leave you impotent, but the need is gone. It is just no more a compulsive thing. And it is not just this one thing, all compulsiveness is lost. Essentially, most of the sexuality that's happening on the planet is happening because of a certain compulsiveness, isn't it? It's a compulsive drive. When you become conscious, when all compulsiveness disappears, this also disappears. It is just that because people are so body-oriented, they're always thinking spirituality versus sexuality. They are not connected. They are not connected. One is of the body, another is of a different dimension. It is simply because people are so… because religions of the world, moral schools and the ethical schools have been always speaking against it, it has become such a big issue in people's minds. They think the only way to know something beyond is, you must be away from this. Because somewhere you're not able to accept the simple biology of a human being, which is the tragedy, that you cannot accept the simple biology. You either have to celebrate it or you have to push it down the drain. Both are not needed. You can look at it for the limitation that it is and for the possibility that it is. So, if because of the impurity of sex, your spirituality is going to get disturbed, I want you to know that your very birth is impure. When you come from such an impure birth, where is the possibility for you? There is no possibility for you. Only if you fell from somewhere else, if the stoke dropped you, there is some possibility of you becoming spiritual. If your mother had a normal birth, you have no possibility. A 6-year-old girl came home one day from school and asked, "Mama, how was I born?" The mother was embarrassed. She said, "A stoke dropped you." She said, "Okay." She noted down, "Mama, how were you born?" A stroke dropped me too. Mama, how was grandmama born? A stroke dropped her too. Then the girl became serious and she went down and sat down and started writing something in her homework. Then the mother was feeling uncomfortable, she finished her cooking and then the girl had finished her homework and left the book there, she went and read. So the essay was about the family tree. So the girl had written, for 3 generations in my family, nobody had a natural birth. So because of absurd ideas, either we exaggerate something or we try to unnecessarily play it down. It has a certain role in your life. If you make it too big, you will become perverted in your head. If you try to obliterate it, you will become even more perverted in your mind. After all, now I am speaking, this is a kind of energy. You are looking at me, this is a kind of energy. You are listening to me, this is a kind of energy. These are different expressions of the same life energy, isn't it? Now, sexuality is also another expression of the same energy. Now, one has to decide how much of his energy, in which direction he wants to send it. Because after all, you are a limited amount of energy, isn't it? See, it's just like you have an income, let's say you have $5,000 a month. How much for the house rent, how much for eating, how much for schooling, how much just for fun, how much for vacation, you apportion, isn't it? Tomorrow morning, you got your salary, in the evening you went out and blew it up. Now the next month is going to be trouble, isn't it? Of course you have a credit card, but everything in your life, if you're handling your life sensibly, everything in your life is apportioned according to your understanding, your need and your capability, isn't it so? Yes? Your money, time, energy, isn't everything allotted the way you like to arrange it? This is also the same thing. How much of it? First of all, do you need it? Or are you doing it because of socially you're psyched? If there is a need, if I ask you to stop it, you will become perverted because it'll all happen in your head. If somebody is telling you, you have to do it, if you don't do it, you're not normal, another kind of perversion will come. Both are not needed. After all, you are not going after a man or woman, you are going after a certain level of pleasantness. So once you experience a certain level of pleasantness, wouldn't you like to dig deeper into this? Because whatever pleasantness happened, maybe you used the other person, but the pleasantness happened within you, right? So suppose anyway the pleasantness is happening within you, the other person is just a key to open this, wouldn't you like to have the key in your own hands? Yes? That if you sit like this, you are on full scale. You don't need anybody. No, see, anything in your life, either for pleasure, money, love, this, that, it doesn't matter what, for whatever, the moment you become dependent on another person, nobody on this planet is truly reliable, isn't it? I keep hearing these complaints all over. Some people, generally women, keep complaining their husbands are excessively physical. Some woman constantly complaining, he doesn't lay a finger upon me. Whatever happens, it's a problem, because it'll never happen exactly the way you want it. As long as another person is involved, nothing will ever happen 100% the way you want it, isn't it so? Yes or no? It never will. It doesn't matter if you get married to your god, it still won't happen. As long as your way of being, your sense of pleasure and joy is dependent on another person, you will always have a complaint. doesn't matter how wonderful the other person is. So in this context, people might have talked about celibacy because they said, take some time off. Because to extract pleasure out of somebody, you have to play any number of tricks. It doesn't happen simply. This is called as courting. Once you go to the court, the judgment day will come. It takes enormous amount of time, effort, energy, and all kinds of other things, frustrations, jealousies, problems, everything attached to it. So somebody said, take time off from those things and see if this could be internally generated, and then being with people will become more out of your love than out of your need, which is definitely a better way to be with people, isn't it? It is definitely a better way of honoring another human being, isn't it so? Give this a little more attention. Instead of paying attention to that one and that one and that one, give this one a little more attention. It will produce much more pleasure than any other one can produce.
For most people, the word orgasm always means sexuality. It gives you a certain sense of peak, but it doesn't take you to an absolute peak. But once one knows how to be orgasmic without the need of the physicality, then it's a perpetual orgasm. Generally, for most people, or at least in language, if not in experience, for most people the word orgasm always means sexuality, but that's not the fact. Essentially, an orgasm means an internalized ecstatic state. It is being used generally in language with relation to sexuality because, unfortunately, for most people, they have known no other experience bigger than the physical intensity of sexuality, probably. Most people have not even known anything more than that. So they have started using the word orgasm for sexuality. The word orgasm means much more than that your whole organism has reached a certain peak. Sexuality doesn't do that. It gives you a certain sense of peak, but it doesn't take you to an absolute peak where every cell in your body will burst. So, it is… sexuality or sex is an inadequate activity to be described as an orgasm. It's inadequate. It is just that when physically one reaches a certain state of ecstasy, there is a limitation. But once one knows how to be orgasmic without the need of the physicality, then it's a perpetual orgasm. In India, we have a better word for this. We call this Ananda. Ananda is orgasmic. We described God as an orgasm. We said God is Ananda, Brahmananda. So when we say Brahmananda,
what means focus to you and which way can we apply focus in our daily life? So what's your definition of focus?
Okay. There are many ways to describe this word. Instead of saying focus, if you use the word attention, would you agree that attention and focus are about the same thing? There is a little difference. There are nuances to it, but when you say focus, it's just like focusing a light on something means only a focus is always a spot. attention can be much more widespread. See, right now, if you have clear vision, I'm having problems seeing the young man because you kept him in darkness there in the hall. But if the hall was well lit, I don't have to focus myself to see the people who are sitting here. I just need attention. If I'm attentive, I will see all the people here the way they are. But now I get interested in this one young man, then I need focus. If I had only focus without the general attention about everything around me, indiscriminate attention I'm talking about, attention not even about something, just being attentive because… only because there is a certain level of attention and awareness within you, you even know that you exist. Otherwise, let's say in sleep, in your experience, neither the world exists nor you exist, all that's happened is there is no attention. Because there is no attention, there is no perception of any kind.